So last week, I took a trip to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and it was just awesome, guys. Of course, I filmed the entire thing, so today we're gonna go through and walk through the exhibits together. Now don't worry, I won't be talking the whole time. I'll just chime in from time to time to let you know kind of where we're at in the aquarium and any comments that I have. Alright, let's go ahead and get started here. So first off, we walk straight in to the otter exhibit. This is by far the most popular one. They have 5 resident otters that they use to hopefully bond with and train baby otters that the aquarium finds in the wild that have been separated from their mothers. Later, we'll come back and watch these guys eat a big meal in a creative way. Now we're going to move down to the bottom half of the 2-story exhibit and we can check out the fish and kelp that hang out down here. Now let's move on to the open sea exhibit. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in here, and the first thing we get to see when we walk in is this massive circular tank. I happen to really like this corner, lady with a microscope showing off the different life stages of phytoplankton and even jellyfish, among with some other tiny sea creatures. for the main attraction in the open sea exhibit, this is the 1.2 million gallon tank, and it's just breathtaking. Now, it isn't the largest single aquarium in the world. That title's taken by the Georgia Aquarium, coming in at 6.3 million gallons. Nonetheless, this aquarium is pretty dang impressive, guys. Leaving this area, we run into the seabirds. Next up was the splash zone, an area filled with touchable tide pools for the kids and the massive kelp forest, which later on we get to feed ourselves. When we first got here, it was super busy. Someone was doing a little presentation downstairs, so we'll come back up here in a little bit. Let's check out the other cool fish that hang out in this area. Alright, now it's time for the ultra impressive 300,000 gallon kelp forest. We only got a few minutes here before it was time for our first tour. We got a little behind the scenes walkthrough that involved checking out a bunch of the exhibits behind closed doors. We also got to learn a lot about how the aquarium works. For example, how they pump in 2,000 gallons of seawater per minute into all the exhibits. They push in filtered water throughout the day to, of course, filter the water and to keep it clear. That's another really important thing. But at night, they reroute and they pump in natural seawater to enrich the exhibits with all the contents that the bay has to offer. up the top of the kelp forest, which we saw a little bit of earlier, and it's powered by sunlight and the largest wave maker I've ever seen. The tour guide told us that without the wave motion here, the kelp would die off. It just goes to show you that sometimes it's not all about just lighting and nutrients when it comes to growing plants and algae. When the tour was over, we headed back downstairs and took a look at the first tank we initially saw from above. In here there are some medium-sized sharks and some other native fish. Walking out of this area, we run into some smaller exhibits and some even more cool little organisms. After about 4 hours in the aquarium, we headed back to our hotel because somebody forgot the extra memory cards for the camera. We ran back just in time for our second tour, which was feeding some of the exhibits. We started off by heading back up the staff-only stairwell to the top of the kelp forest. Here we got to throw in a handful of shrimp and then run back downstairs to watch the fish eat. Next up, it was time to feed the steelhead. This is the common name for rainbow trout once they transition into a saltwater environment and change their colors. We managed to walk by the otter exhibit one more time right as they began to feed them. The trainers give the otter these large spheres that are kind of like big dog toys filled with restaurant quality seafood. They claim that this type of feeding helps the otters to stay diligent and prevents them from getting bored. Now it was time to check out the Viva Baja exhibit, which was focused on the aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems of the Baja California Peninsula. This right here was one of my favorite tanks in the entire aquarium, the big mangrove tank. Unfortunately, the tree isn't real and they didn't have any archer fish, but still pretty impressive if you ask me. Upon exiting the Viva Baja exhibit, we were greeted by the penguin enclosure. We learned after we left that they actually take these guys out on guided walks around the aquarium when the general public isn't around. So that brings us to pretty much the end of the Monterey Bay Aquarium tour, guys. There's a few clips that I didn't put in, but maybe I'll make, a separate video with those in it. Who knows? But seriously, if you live nearby, or even if you don't, like me, I highly suggest that you try and make it out there. It was such an awesome little trip, and you won't be disappointed. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.